Okay.
And the only prescription is more cowbell.
How true, how true. She looked a little bored, the cowbell girl.
She did, didn't she?
Yeah.
I was thinking, she's like, what am I doing here?
Why am I here? Yeah. Yeah.
It makes me, I got to tell you, though, it makes me a little uncomfortable to see young ladies. Right? So, but hey, great song. I get it. I'm like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? That was just my feeling, but that is a great drummer for sure.
Yeah, she's got hundreds of videos. She does cover drums for so many different bands, and you can get hooked on watching. This is an older video, so she's somewhat older now than she was in that video. But I'm always impressed by talent, and I know you're an America's Got Talent fan as well. You can see that kind of thing when you see people just step up and step into their prowess, and we always encourage people to do it. I mean, this is what America is about. We really celebrate that more than anything. It's like you can do and be and have anything you want. Oh, well, except if Harris is president, and then you will have nothing and you will be happy. But other than that, yeah, that's the way it's supposed to work.
Yep, I'm happy with nothing.
Well, you have an interesting story to tell about documents kind of gone. Just like that on your personal computer, not even in the cloud. What is going on with that, Louis?
Yeah, well, the reason why I hesitate because I know I don't want to seem like that guy that I'm always being attacked and so on and so forth. So, what happened today is I went to go finish writing the script for the documentary on my computer, and the script was gone. So that's all right. Usually I can go into auto recovery and I can find it. It wasn't in auto recovery. That's all right. Usually I can go into recent documents and it will still be archived in there as a recent document. And I go into recent documents, and anything I've worked on since August 7th in regard to a Word document is gone off of my computer. Completely disappeared. So it's a little heartbreaking with all the work I've done on the documentary. Yet at the same time, so I said, this is a time to make a choice. So my response to this is what's more important than what happened to me. Right? So I said, okay, this may be a bad thing. It may be an evil thing. It may just be a technology glitch. I don't know. But what I know is it's probably a God thing. So whatever I was writing was probably not as impactful as what I'm writing now.
Right.
So therefore I said, okay, I'm paying attention. God, let's get this done. So I started to do some more work, some more interviews. One interview I was missing. I just asked Bruce to send it to me. The second he sent it to me, on Telegram, I clicked one click to download it before I could or to open it, and my whole computer completely shut down. Started screaming at me with this very, very loud noise. No buttons would work, so I had to do a hard shutdown from the box. I'm not saying anything is going on. I'm just saying it's amazing that all these things can go on. And I would say, this will make me sound cuckoo, it's more likely that these are spiritual attacks than people physically hacking into my computer and doing things. I don't know. Whatever it is, I'm going to stand here and hopefully as an example it's not going to affect me. It's not going to change my mindset. I'm going to remain positive and live in the light, high vibration, and we're going to get this out, and it's going to be this documentary will be extraordinarily impactful. So that's where I stand right now. It does add a tremendous of work for me, and I still have deadlines to hit, so I'll just work later into tonight and later into tomorrow night to make sure we hit the deadlines. So that affects me negatively, but other than that, I'm not going to let it do anything.
It is always our reaction to the event that is where we have our power and our control. And what we're going to talk about today is going to cause reaction in some people I know. And the truth of the matter is we can't control what's going on. We also are going to give you a disclaimer right up front. We don't know for sure what we're going to talk about will happen. We never do. We can't talk about what's going to happen tomorrow in a positive, absolute sense because things change. And, we've been hesitant for a long time to say anything about dates and times and locations because that stuff has always been wrong. And, we're going to continue that. But, we're getting signals now that probably are worth discussing. And Lewis and I tend to be very pragmatic about things. And we say we're not hair on fire. It's just not the way we operate. And what we do is we look for the signals. And it's like you've got to see the signal. The smoke's got to be coming up from more than one mountain. And when you're looking out over the horizon, if you see it in one place, you know what? Maybe someone's having a bad day, and they want clicks or they want whatever. But if we start to see it here, and you go, okay, we got to pay attention. So it's kind of sort of like that today. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and like Lewis mentioned, is your reaction to it is where your power is. That's what you can control. So we're going to encourage you to keep your feet on the ground, take a deep breath. We've known for a long time that things are going to get worse before they get better. We just don't know what that'll look like. Of course, in a war, you never do. We don't know how long it'll last. A lot of people are saying it'll be short. I don't know. There's a lot of damage done to this country. It could be a generation before we fully recover. However, it may be very quick before we get the bad guys out of the way and we could start to rebuild, which is what the hope is for a lot of us. So we're going to go in that direction today. We're going to give you the best sort of overview that we can. We've seen some of our associates on other channels and other influencers all over these stories, and I'm sure you guys have been exposed to them as well. So we're going to give you a little bit of a pragmatic approach today to it. That sound good, Lewis?
It does. Let me start with this. In 5 years of predictions, I've been telling you, just wait and see. Not one prediction from any of these podcasters, truthers, influencers have come true today. So if that's not the lesson there, that maybe we should take care, take a deep breath, and wait to respond to these things, because what happens is that means you're riding a roller coaster. None of them have come true. None of the, I'm talking about the date predictions.
Right.
And from friends of mine. Mm-hmm. And I've been on air with friends before, and people have heard me. I'm scolding them. I'm like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And then they throw out the date. And it doesn't happen. I believe the calling out dates is an ego-based thing. And yes, a broken clock is right twice, but the reason why we're going to talk about it is only because of a couple things that Robert and I have been hearing, and everybody's talking about it. So we want to at least address it. And like Robert said, he's exactly right. We'll take a pragmatic approach to this, and let's get into it, Robert. I think it is a good subject to get onto.
Yeah, so there's a video going on, and it's a BitChute video. Some fellow named CMJ, I forget what the CMJ stands for. It's Captain I forget the Captain Magic or something. I don't know what the MJ stands for. But the C is Captain. And that video came out, I believe it was a couple of days ago, and it's really been making the rounds. I think if I say 20 people sent it to me today and last night, probably not an exaggeration. And I have people calling me all day. They're up in arms. They're in fear. What is going on? Is this really happening? And it's like, well, I have my little crystal ball here. I keep it by my desk, but it doesn't tell me these kinds of things. It doesn't tell me what's going to happen tomorrow. So, one of the things you have to keep in mind here is that, could it happen? Could this guy be accurate? Well, we did the intuitive thing, and we check, okay, on a scale of 1 to 100, how accurate is the information? And then we did the muscle testing and the applied kinesiology, and it came back as 90%. Not 100%, but 90%. Well, that's pretty significant to hear. That he's talking about things like the banking system's going to get shut down, it's going to collapse, and then we will be into martial law. Now, if you take a step back from that, Lewis, I think it's important for us to recognize you and I have been on this bandwagon since day one. We don't see this election as happening. If it were to happen where we are right now and what we can see, it is uncertifiable. You couldn't certify it. It's going to be such a disaster, right? It won't be auditable. It won't. There's no paper trail. There's nothing. It is damaged in so many ways. And I'm going to say this because I think it's true, that our side really gets an F for effort in fixing our election systems over the last 4 years. We've done nothing. Just look at Maricopa County, look at Georgia, look at, where's the real progress that we've made? I look at the Board of Supervisors in Maricopa County, same guys. Why aren't they gone? How about in Georgia? What's Raffensperger still doing there after everything he pulled in 2020? Right? So you go through the list, you can go, and in any state that had a lot of problems, you have the same players, and they're playing the same games, and the lawsuits are already flying, and the judges are already throwing them out of court. Right? Same game. So what do you think's going to happen? Well, the election's not going to go off in a way that anyone's going to look at it and say, yeah, of course, if it's your guy who wins, then oh, yeah, it was perfect. There was no problem. Right? The Democrats complained in 2016 when Trump won.
Already, it's just, it's unpalatable. There's no way. I don't even see how, if it was legit, I don't see how election can move forward because it's so jacked up. I mean, so I think people should look at that.
Yeah.
So let me add a little fuel to the fire. So there's a lot of podcasters putting out this information that something's going to happen between now and this weekend. A lot of that. As I've said before, a lot of them are what I call parrot podcasters or parrot patriots. So they'll take something that one person says and then they put it out as if it's their own knowledge. Now, I'm going to add a little fuel to this fire. I was on a phone call with somebody that, how do I say this, is involved in managing an airfield somewhere. And this person said a dignitary is flying in. This is serious. And everybody was told to make sure if they have ham radios, to make sure they are operational and tested. That's about all the information I got.
That's all you really need. You don't need more.
And I'll get some updates on that. So, but that's as much as firsthand information I got. So maybe something is going to happen. I don't know, but I would say what Robert and I have been saying for 2 years, anyways. You should have already been prepared for this.
Yeah. I was out today in Costco and a couple of other journeys. Needed to pick up some stuff for the house, and it was pretty calm out there. Nothing too crazy. There's toilet paper at Costco, yay! So that's a good sign. That's your flag to know that things are still calm, right? But I think a lot of the normal people, the regulars, are not going to hear about this until it's too late. One of the things we are hearing is the communication networks will be shut down. And that means no internet, that means no shows, no cell phone, no email, all the things we have come to rely on every day, and that's how we communicate. So, just tell your family members, just let them know if that happens, what the plan is. What's the plan? We're going to get in touch with you as soon as we can. Hunker down, be safe. Don't go out, especially if there's martial law. You don't want to be out in the street. Martial law means the Constitution is suspended. That means you have no rights other than those given to you by the military at that point. So if we go into that kind of scenario, just be aware. You're not in the America you grew up in for a period of time. Things are different, and don't go being boisterous in front of them and doing it, because you're going to pay a price. And remember that.
Amazing. So that's if I think they're against we the people. If I believe they are for we the people, and I can get some information on that, me personally, then I will be a support system for them.
Correct.
But I'm not saying to do what I'm doing. I'm just telling you what I would do. And it wouldn't be easy, but I would certainly, me personally, I would go out and be having conversations with these guys to see what direction they're going.
Yeah, and apparently, if that happens, there'll be a lot of announcements and there'll be a lot of that kind of thing happening through whatever communication networks are still available. The military will probably keep some form of communication open to kind of keep us informed, but we won't be able to communicate back. It'll be sort of a monologue, one direction kind of thing. They'll broadcast whatever they're going to broadcast on whatever radio station or what you can get your hands on. So yeah, it's just about being prepared. Be smart about it too. It's like, well, you may or may not have us, to rely on to tell you what's really going on if all of it is shut down. But this is where you're going to have to use your discernment if this is what's going to happen. And we keep seeing the signals. So I don't know. I mean, I'm leaning towards feeling like something is about to pop, because you can't, if you think about it logically, you can't have an election. Right. So let's say we wake up November 6th, they install Harris, and then they pull the martial law and they shut everything down after the fact. You're going to have a portion of society that's always going to believe that Harris won. And I think that just creates a bigger problem for you than if you shut it down before and you never get to that point. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, one thing we both agree on big time is something's about ready to crack.
Yeah.
This balloon has been blown up too far and too long, and it's definitely going to pop. But we are in interesting times. So from a technical standpoint, because this is your wheelhouse, you believe the government has the ability to just shut down all communication except probably ham radios. Is that right?
It's so easy to do it. So easy to do it. Yeah, it's beyond trivial to shut it down.
So if it's that easy, what's the solution for the future after we fix this problem? Because we don't want to put ourselves back into this scenario where we lived in a society that they can just flick the switch anytime they want to. What would you think the solution would be in the future? I've been telling people, which I know I'm probably going to get in trouble for, is why worry about getting a license to be a ham operator? How does that benefit you?
Well, there'll be no enforcement if we go into this space anyway. So yeah, it doesn't matter. And I look at all that, and all that stuff's going to go away anyway. So to answer your question, I'm going to take you back to 1984. Okay, the internet.
Interesting year, by the way.
Yeah, the internet was invented in 1969. I got on the internet in 1987 for the very first time, but in 1984, there was a different set of online tools called the BBS system, bulletin board systems. And I was very big into that, and I had set up many of them for myself and for clients. And if you wanted to email with a bulletin board system, I want to walk you through the technology, because this is eye-opening in terms of where we could be going in the future. Right now, when we send an email, where does it go? It goes to a central server. If you're sending it from Outlook or something, it goes to Outlook, and then it goes to whoever you're sending it to. So you have one point of failure. Outlook or Microsoft in this case literally does scan every single email under the guise of, we're checking for spam, but they have all your data, right? So back in the 80s, what we would do on the bulletin board systems is we would send a blob of data between my bulletin board system and the next one in the line. And that blob was your emails. So if I wanted to email Lewis would go onto a bulletin board system, he would email me, and it would be put in the blob. That blob would travel from there. It would go to the next bulletin board system, the next bulletin board system, next bulletin board system, and finally when it would hit mine, his message would pop up on my side. That could take days to happen, but it was peer-to-peer, right? Instead of having a central, it was peer-to-peer. Napster was peer-to-peer. If you remember Napster, where all the music was, you can get it all for free. That was peer-to-peer networking. There was no central server. Hard for them to take it down, because it's like, well, where's all the music being stored? Everywhere. Blockchain is that, right? Blockchain is non-centralized data spread out through spreadsheets all over the world. And all of them have to cooperate for that data to be true and accurate. If you mess one up, guess what? Data is no longer accurate. So I think we're going to get back to a peer-to-peer situation rather than a server situation. That's how we're going to get Big Brother out of our back pockets. Is we got to do that. You can't stop that blob going from one computer to the next because they're never going to know when it is or where it is. But when it goes up to a central server, that's easy. And right now, the internet is designed that way. Everything goes through certain servers, and Chicago has a huge data infrastructure there, where most of the internet traffic in the United States, from East Coast to West Coast, goes through Chicago. So you want to take it out, you shut down that one data center. That's it. No more East Coast to West Coast traffic, other than Starlink. It's probably the only one that would work at that point.
So Alan Fountain says there's a communication system via ground waves called GWEEN towers every 200 miles, and it's a form of military communication. Are you suggesting that we should set something up that from a civilian standpoint in the future? Is that similar to what you're saying?
Yeah, that would be the direction to go, where you pull the big daddies out of the way, and the Googles and the Apples and all these people that all of your data goes through. If I'm sending a text message to you, it goes to Apple servers, then it goes to Google servers, then it goes to you. It's like, why do they need that information? Why can't I just send it to you directly? Why can't it be peer to peer, right? So we take the server out of the way.
Well, and the beauty about that too is, in order to get to us, they'd have to take down several towers. Just because one tower could probably bypass another tower, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, exactly, and it would be whack-a-mole, literally, and you would not be able to do it. So that's why I say the internet is very fragile, because there are only certain areas that you would need to take out data centers, and you take the whole internet down. It's not hard to do,
So it was really a rhetorical question, but I knew you, from a technical standpoint, would address it better than I would. So thank you for that, because I think we are so vulnerable, and it's we let it, because of the circus that we were delivered through the internet. We did that. It doesn't matter how it gets to us, as long as it gets to us. And I believe that happens with a lot of what we deal with. Is the end result is great right now, so we don't really care what happens in between A and Z, but unfortunately, it's B through Y is where all the damage can come in.
Yeah, and as long as you have Big Brother being able to snoop on everything, and they, in Microsoft language, they call it telemetry, right? And there's a lot of telemetry being sent from you, and you use Windows, up to Microsoft. How you use it, how often you use it, how many hours you're on, how long you have Word open, how many emails you check per day. I mean, there's so much data being sent back up. They know everything about what's going on that machine of yours. And you say, well, I bought the software. No. You bought a license to the software. You didn't own the software. So you bought a license to use it. And the terms of the license are, well, we get to pull the data that we want to pull under the guise of, we're making the software better for you guys. And by the way, Apple does the same thing. So it's not any different on Apple than it is on Microsoft. It's the same thing. So that we're in a situation where I think a lot of people are waking up to the fact that, gosh, there is no privacy. You heard the story of the IRS the other day. They're using AI, and they're going into every single one of our bank accounts under the guise of, hey, we're looking for fraud. Your data is private on your computer. It's not, right? As any computer that's not air-gapped, that is connected to the internet, is not private. Air-gapped means there's no connection to the internet. There's a physical barrier of air, and not Wi-Fi either. Everything turned off, which our election machines are connected to the internet. How do we know? Because if they call for customer support says, what's the machine number? And they log in remotely. How do you do that if it's not connected to the internet? I have no idea. That's some new technology to me.
Right. So I know you've been digging into the elections like big time. And the most glaring thing for me right now is Texas publicly says we will have our elections counted the night of. They have a pretty large population, and we'll give you the results. And Arizona said it can take up to 13 days with a lot less population than Texas has. Is that not a red flag? Am I missing something here?
That is not a red flag. That's a flare, a missile, a rocket. It's fireworks. It's everything you could possibly imagine. And the Uno Cava is what they're betting on, right? That's the overseas ballots that you don't have to be overseas to fill one out. You can just go online and fill it out and put in fictitious information, and you get a ballot. You complete it and you email it in, and there's zero verification, right? So that buffer, guys, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. Why is it? Well, let's say Trump is ahead by 6 million votes, or whatever the number would be. Then they figure out, okay, how do we fill that gap and beat it, right? There's going to be no more Trump votes coming in. We know that. So after that, it's only going to be Harris votes. And we saw this in 2020. Arizona, oh, we need another 2 weeks to count the 10 more votes. No, then we found another 6 ballots. And it was just like, what is it? What is going on there? And we never broke through. We never got to the bottom of it. And if you remember the giant audit they did in the arena, those guys were forced and coerced to write a report, and then they destroyed their company afterwards. They blew them up. So a year later, that guy came out and he says, honestly, the report should have said, the audit that we did, we can't tell who won. It was so screwed up. They could never have been certified, but they certified it anyway, right, for Biden.
Yet Fox News knew about it first and early in the day.
That's right. Well, we have this here that Fox News is already calling Arizona for, there you go. There you go.
I saw that.
Harris wins Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know it's a joke. It's a meme, guys. Don't get. Someone actually got upset. No, how can they do that? It's a meme. Okay, it's just a meme. It's okay. But we saw that happen, and we recognize that when that kind of thing happens, it's like, well, how can you look at the elections now, even in 2022? Carrie Lake, lover, hater, whatever, won that election by a landslide. But she's not governor today, is she? Who is? Katie Hobbs. Where'd she come from? She's as bad as Kamala. If you ever listen to her speak, she's just like Kamala.
Well, worse, she's the one that certifies the election.
Well, she certified her election. Oh, okay, there's a little problem there.
I don't know. It couldn't get any better than that. I'm sorry. When you can certify the election for yourself, I'm like, oh, and people don't see that as the problem.
Ah, they do. But they don't know where the levers of power are to do anything about it.
Right.
I talked to some of the people who were at the Board of Supervisor meeting in Maricopa County, and I said, how you guys doing? Oh, I go up there and I hammer them for 2 solid minutes. Uh-huh. And what is the result that produces? Why let them know what I'm thinking? Uh-huh. So what is the result that produces? There's no answer. There is no result. I said, at some point, you guys are going to need to wake up and lock arms around that building and not let those people back in.
That's right.
And unless that happens, these guys are just going to laugh at you. They'll 2 minutes, Lewis. 2 minutes to listen to your constituents. 2 minutes? Seriously?
Well, and in Maricopa, they play games too. They shuffle up the papers to make sure they interrupt you while you're talking. I mean, it's really crazy.
Well, they don't want to hear from you. That's the answer. Is they feel they're elite or they're bought out, who knows what. They know there's nothing they can do anyway, so who cares? So it's just one of those things. Like, what are you going to do? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, you are right. That is exactly what we're going to see next. Get ready. I like the F. The F is really cool. There you go. Get ready. 2020 on the left, 2024 on the right. The steal will be bigger, but it still will be a steal. Yeah, huh?
Interesting times.
Interesting times. It is, people have been asking me, what do you, I've got friends in Canada. I'm talking to you, Phil, if you're listening today. Thanks for listening, by the way, who are wanting to know. They're watching the American election with bated breath, and they're going, what is going on down there? Remember, the media in other countries is very left-leaning, and in Canada it is extremely censored. So they don't get access to what's really going on. That's why they're dying to know. So they tap on your American friends and say, what's going on down there? Well, I said basically, if you look at, the sentiment, it's about 80-20 for Trump, right? I'm not saying they're going to vote that way, but 80-20,
Right.
basically the
Right.
sentiment for Trump is that there's a very small but very vocal group who is supporting Harris. And the media comes along and amplifies that, and you think, wow, Trump doesn't have a chance. Look, it's 51-49, the polls are saying. Yeah, the polls who polled 9 people and extrapolated that out to 350 million. Uh-huh. I'm buying it. Not.
You're buying it.
Not. Right?
So how's it that the media is so controlled in Canada, yet somehow the Canadian truckers organized an amazing rally against the
That
government?
was before the media was controlled. When that happened, that was a wake up call to the government to shut it all down. And then the media, they have licenses, right, broadcast licenses and such, and the rules became harder and harder and harder. And basically, they went to all the social media, including Facebook, and they said, you cannot have posts of anything news related coming into Canada. All of that had to be blocked. So Facebook just did a blanket block and blocked all the news sources. Like, you don't go on Facebook and see articles from New York Times anymore like we used to. New York Post, that was all that kind of stuff was on there. And Facebook just wholesale deleted it all after that event in 21. Remember when they shut that down, we still don't know what that military force was that came in. A lot of people are saying it was UN, it was whatever. It wasn't Canadian, it wasn't the RCMP that did it. Right? We know those guys. But this wasn't them. They didn't care about the Canadian public at all. They bulldozed over them, and they shut that thing down in hours. Yeah.
But there's only 50,000 of them.
In Canada, you
That's
mean?
not. Yeah, no, that's the force that came in. Supposedly was only 50,000 max. That's not very many. So that tells me how feckless the Canadian military really is.
Well, yeah, they didn't respond. They weren't there. It was just the Canadian people, literally the protesters against that, and the media was making
Bodies and doing what we could. So I appreciate them a lot. It was a beautiful community effort, and I would talk to them about what the government and so on and so forth. And the difference is, though, is they said no, they're doing a bad job, but they kind of gave them excuses for the bad job that they're doing. But that's still, you would never hear it out of their mouth before. But they unilaterally agreed that the people are doing a better job than the government. And those were liberals. So I'm thinking the American spirit is alive and well, and we're going to get through this. And the more, unfortunately, tragedy that we're up against, I'm feeling pretty good that they end up stepping up in the right way to help their fellow neighbors. And ultimately, like we say all the time, the micro fixes the macro, and that's where we are right now.
Yep.
So it's we're talking on a national level. It feels very tragic, but on an individual community level, I think when it comes down to push comes to shove, people will get on the same page. And I can tell you, there's not very many people that are pro-government right now.
I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure. Hey, speaking of push coming to shove, I'm going to push people over to your website to get signed up for the newsletter, because if everything else fails, we're going to keep in touch with you via the newsletter, via email. So go over to screwbiggov.com, and if you do nothing else, just sign up for the newsletter, put your email address in there, and we'll be able to keep in touch. And I'm going to do the same thing here on renegademedia.tv. And thank you for those of you who are now following us, Renegade Media on Telegram. That's been a busy channel. We've been putting a lot of stuff up there as well. Now, just want to mention a little bit of housekeeping. We have heard you that there is a lot of advertising happening on Rumble, making it hard to watch. We didn't notice it, Lewis and I, because we both have paid accounts, and you're always logged in. So every time I look at Rumble on my laptop or my iPad or on my iPhone or any of the desktop computers, I'm always logged in. So when you're logged in, you don't have any ads. So I watch videos all the time, no ads. I never see any ads on anything. But the Bruce brought it to my attention, and some of you viewers have as well, that the ads have become a little bit crazy. The feed seems to be interrupted every 5-10 minutes with ads, and they're horrible. The ads are they're horrible to watch, and they're the same ads over and over again. So I was asking Bruce about it because he was watching a video the other day, and he said it's unwatchable. There's so many ads. Well, like Lewis had said, it's not a good sign that they went public. Now they've got to appease the shareholders, so they've got to show a profit, so they're running ads more and more of the time. So we're working on a system, working on a solution for that. We'll let you know as we get closer to rolling something out, but it should be within the next week or so. We'll have an answer to that and be able to give you the option of having an ad-free experience of the show, because I know a lot of people I'm like that, too many ads, I'm gone. I just can't. I can't sit through ads. Just, especially horrible ads, especially being in the industry. It's like, I need to see good ads. Good ads, maybe. Super Bowl type ads, I'll watch. But, other than that, not so much. Are we doing the Super Bowl show again next year?
Super Bowl ads from the 90s, maybe.
Oh, even better. Even better.
Oy.
We doing the Super Bowl show in January, if there is a January?
Yeah, if there is a Super Bowl, I don't know. I have never been so unsure of what the future holds, but so sure of what the outcome is. So what I'm completely unsure of is what the journey is going to look like in the next 3 months. I think the only thing I'm pretty sure of, it's going to be messy.
Yes.
But the outcome, I don't know why I have such solace and such peace that it's just absolutely going to be wonderful for most people. And that's the good thing. But God knows what's in front of us for the next few months.
I have an amazing gal that I work with, an intuitive, very, very, very high level. She's basically unbookable because she's got so many people wanting to work with her, and she only takes a very, very small number of customers. So we've been working with her. Phoebe's been working with her, gosh, I'm going to say close to 15 years now. And so, I had a session with her, a 3-hour conversation yesterday, and I asked her, I said, what's the timeline look like to you? And one of the things, she'll tap in and she'll just get a feel for it. And she says there's a big event coming in November. Now, we've got two things that we could look at. We could look at the election on the 5th, and we could look at the 24th, the sentencing of Donald Trump, right? He's apparently going to be sentenced and jailed. They don't think that has gone away, although it looks more and more likely that isn't going to happen. But right now it's still on the calendar. So she said there's going to be a big event in November, and she said it has to happen. It's going to be ugly, but it has to happen. No more details. Just that's all we got. And then I said, okay, so when do we get to the other side? And she says by January, late January, early February, we're going to be in a position where it's going to feel like the hurricane has passed. And if you're in Florida, when the hurricane passes, what happens to the sky? It's all blue and the sun comes out. And that's going to give us the ability. That doesn't mean it's over. That means the storm is over. But that's going to give us then the ability to look around and assess the damage so that we can then kick into action and start rebuilding. And that's what you're feeling, Lewis. I really believe that's what you're feeling, is that moment when all baddies are gone and they're dealt with, they're taken care of, they're no longer an issue for us. And now we go, wow, okay, what do we want this country to look like? What do we want to do? How do we rebuild it?
Yeah, I would agree. And I would caution people to always be looking for reparations of some sort. Because there's a lot of cleanup to do with the mess that's been created. I guess I'm going to temper my expectations down to all I want, and I've been saying this for years, is a level playing field. Because I'm confident in my abilities, my family's abilities, and the American spirit, that if there's a level playing field, which means we have no suppression of message, the corporations don't have an advantage, the stock market doesn't favor the insiders, things like this. The medical community has to tell the truth. If there's a level, honest playing field, I believe the correction will happen by we the people and will be amazing. And that's a lot simpler than everybody expecting, well, I need reparations for this, or I need my SESTA QV, or I need to get my Nasara Jasara, and I need to get that check. And I would caution people just to step back from that for a second, because if it's a level playing field, even if you don't have the resources, good people will be there to help. And there's proof of it, because I've seen how much money has flowed in and how much time and effort and equipment and supplies have flown in just through our network during this hurricane. Believe me, when people they have a level playing field and they're doing good, if you're not able to catch up, they'll be there for you. You don't need a government to be there for you anymore. We need to eliminate that completely.
And I think what we'll experience is a level of unity that we could only dream of seeing. I think at that point everyone's going to be on the same page because, like we were talking about yesterday, it's like a lot of people are going to be in shock that so much of what they have believed their entire life is now gone, and it was lies, and now we'll all be on the same page, and we'll say, wow, those people were a lot worse than we thought. We were indoctrinated, all of us were, to a certain extent, some more than others, and now we can start rebuilding on a more firm footing, based on honesty, based on authenticity, word we like to use around here, and certainly we'll have that option to do that, and it'll be up to us. And like Lewis is saying, we're not looking for revenge at that point. No, we're beyond that. You got to let it go. What was under the bridge. Let's look forward. What do we want to create? How do we want to create it? What do we need to do to build it? But you could start to see them if you wanted to.
Yeah, it would definitely, we're on the crazy train, but I believe that thing's coming to a stop.
Yep. All right. Your best advice for people, looking forward at this and saying, okay, what are we going to do going forward? This weekend, if something does pop, what should they be keeping in mind? How should they handle themselves?
Well, first and foremost is, if you've been watching us for even a few months, we're always recommending you be prepared. So you should already have water ready. At minimum, fill your bathtub up and have water sitting there. That's a great resource that you can use. You have some backup food. If you can afford it, have a generator nearby. Meet your neighbors. Purchase lead, if you know what I mean. I mean, there's a lot of things that people can absolutely do to be prepared. Because let's look at the scenario from a pragmatic approach. Let's say that nothing's going to be shut down. Let's say this is all hype, right? Then let's say the elections go off on November 5th. I don't personally see a scenario where there won't be civil unrest because
exactly.
Because if President Trump wins, the Antifa, the BLM, and the crazy Marxists are going to be on the street rioting. If Kamala wins, they're going to be on the street rioting in celebration. So either way, it seems like there's probably going to be civil unrest either way. So we should be aware of that if there's even an election. So I would suggest immediately you do whatever you can just to be prepared right now. Because if you're prepared, when this happens, it's not going to be as traumatizing as if you aren't prepared and you're trying to scramble.
Right.
And
just made me think of something, Lewis.
Sure.
The fact that you and I have this very strong belief that no matter which way the election were to go, there will be civil unrest, which would make sense that they would try to shut everything down prior to the election so we don't go there. Because once you have that lawlessness, that civil unrest, it's really hard to get it back under control. So wouldn't it make sense then to shut it down before we get to that stage?
From either side.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we've been saying for a while that I don't know who's going to shut down the election. I have a feeling somebody's going to try. So I think now that the most important things that people can do is stay in high vibration.
Yeah.
Stay as positive as you can. Be out there in your gardens. Plant your feet on the ground. Be in prayer. Absolutely play your best music. Laugh. Watch comedies. I think right now, in fact, I can tell you, when we were in North Carolina, one of the best coping mechanisms you can have. And I can tell you, I've had relationships and dealt with a lot of firefighters and police officers, and they can tell you the only way, and special force guys, they can tell you the only way they get through the day is by communicating through humor. And so if we and they can do it then, you certainly can do it now. And I will assure you, you'll be in your best mindset if you can keep your frequency high and happy. And the way to do that, Robert, is if people understand that the outcome is going to be glorious, regardless of what the journey to get there is, it's very easy to stay in high vibration.
It is. We can get really waylaid by looking at the current events and look at how horrible things seem at the moment, but that's only in the moment. What we're seeing today is the result of what was, not what will be. And if you can remember that, then it's easy to say, okay, we can create something new. We're creators. We have the power to manifest. We have the power to create our thoughts, our words that have meaning. And, we got to get away from mainstream media that lies to us constantly. We've got to stop listening to politicians that just are snowing us constantly with their lies, and more lies. Just got to stop looking up to them and saying these are the institutions, if you will, that are the authorities. They're not. Clearly they're not. They don't have our best interests in mind. So just keep in mind that, we have power. We're not going to give that power up. This is a very different country than Venezuela, very different than Brazil, very different than Australia or Canada. And, we have a will here that later, fight. What? That's the American spirit. That's what that is. We've got that.
Yeah, we do. I've seen it in spades, boots on the ground, and it was amazing to see it. Hey, Robert, real quick before I forget, because I know I have to roll here in a minute. Alan Fountain and I are going to do a special show tomorrow. He has some questions. He hasn't told me about it, that he's going to interview me, and he's a brilliant dude. So I think that would be really, really, really interesting show to watch. It'll be on the same time as we are on right now. There you go, 2 G's.
They will chill tomorrow. And probably give you an update too. I want to just mention something really quick. I saw that in chat. We're not giving you details, right? And people are like, why don't you give us the details? We don't know the details. And even if we did know the details, they're subject to change. So if we gave you a lot of details, then you'd be like clinging on to those, and that's what's going to happen. And when it doesn't happen, you'll be disappointed. Or if it does happen, you'll say, we don't have a lot of the details. Nobody does. Remember, this is war. The information we're getting could be totally wrong, could be totally a psyop. So we look for signals, and, we try to bring you the best that we can. So, excuse us for not giving you specifics, but that's not the way that works.
Yeah, and if they want details of an air base that I said I got some information, that would be really stupid of me to say, or I will never get information again. So that's not coming forward.
Yeah. All right. You got to hop, Lewis?
Yeah, I got to get working on this documentary. It's going to be a long but fruitful night. I'll let you finish up, Robert.
Yep.
Appreciate you. Tomorrow it'll be myself and Alan Fountain. And that's going to be a short one also, probably about 45 minutes.
And I have the day off tomorrow. Oh, boy.
Woohoo! And I know I'll still be looking on the documentary. So, guys, appreciate everybody here. Just know we've got this. Find a way to keep your frequency very, very high. And that's another way that you can combat this evil, because they need you in fear. Do not be in fear.
Oh, boy, do they
ever. A lot of fear pouring out there right now.
Yep.
Don't get sucked in.
Yep. Love you, brother. Thank you so much for being here, and good show tomorrow. And we will commit to doing this if something does happen and we're able to get an internet connection and get online. We will come online and share with you what we know as we know it, as things pop. So my studio is set up to go live typically within 15 minutes. I can be live. We can go live even sooner just off a cell phone. So if something really comes up, we'll do our best to get the word out to you.
Well, I will let them know too. We reached out to Juan just to get his take on everything, and he said definitely he's going to hook up with us. We don't have a time confirmed yet between my schedule, his schedule, and Robert's schedule, so we're just trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I'm going to be as flexible as possible. I will interview him at 2 a.m. if that's what's required. I have a gut feeling that he has something to share that would be very helpful.
Yep. All right, guys, we appreciate you.
Thank you, Lewis. I'll wrap up, and you have a great evening.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care. All right, boy, yeah, there's so much happening that, let's see here if we can go through this. No, I was going to give you the possible scenarios. My whole plan for today was we're doing the election thing. I wanted to go through all the different scenarios of what could possibly happen. So scenario one, if Harris would win, if scenario two, if Trump would win, scenario three, and it looks more and more that all of that's off the table, even at this point. I mean, we're still 13 days out, but it feels like it's still off the table because we're going to get to a point where, this thing probably won't happen. I'm kind of feeling that more and more as we're digging in. Like I said, if we can get Juan on here, I've got questions for him. And that I think will be really good. And if he's not available during the time of the show, we'll pre-record and then we'll share it with you. But keep an eye on our channels. Certainly our Telegram channels will be filling you in there and giving you as much information as we can. It's sort of an interesting time. Like I said, I was out this morning looking for some ammo, and there ain't none. It's all sold out. I'm going to get some gas tomorrow. Got some gas cans, 5-gallon cans. I'm going to fill those up just to have extra fuel around for, we don't have a gas-powered generator, but we have solar batteries. So we've got solar panels because it's sunny in California, so it kind of makes sense, right? So we'll be able to have some semblance of power if the power were to go out. And, we just got to be prepared. And, I tell people this all the time. People, look, there is no downside, none whatsoever, to being prepared. If I don't need the gas for anything, doesn't happen, and the gas is there, I'll just put it back in the car, right? Just pour it back into the car, and it gets used anyway. If we bought canned goods, if we buy bags of this and bottles of that, it's going to get used at some point. Really, it's just going to. So the question isn't, should I buy this now? And people say, I don't have enough storage. I don't have enough storage. You know what? On top of the closet, under the bed. I mean, you can always find room to store things. And actually, you can, in many cases, use the trunk of your car, to store things, especially canned goods and things like that really aren't that susceptible to the weather and temperature and stuff. So you could actually do things like that to expand your storage. Now, I know it costs a little bit more to do it, but, Costco's there, Sam's Club, that kind of thing. Those are really good choices for getting, really items in bulk, if you will, at better pricing. So I want you to pay attention next couple of days of what's going to happen. If it happens, we never really know, but it seems like the signals are pretty strong now, more so than we've seen this before, but it's always one talking head. And then it gets echoed all over the place, so it seems like it's bigger, but it's still one source. Now it's coming from multiple sources. So when it's coming from multiple sources, Lewis having firsthand experience of it, people contacting me, sending me things, I'm seeing it as well. Yeah, there's something to pay attention to here. So we got to be ready for it. Whatever that's going to look like, whatever it is, we just need to be ready for it. I will only do today one ad, and I know we don't normally skip the ads because I know how important they are to keeping this show on the air. But we're just going to talk about one today. Let me see here if I can get through this real quickly. Boy, there's a lot there. All right. So the only ad that I'm going to share with you today is this one right here. And this is Thumper. And he loves to have his nose rubbed, by the way. Boy, if you rub his nose, he just falls asleep, loves it. So Pet Club 24/7, they really have a great set of pet food. We did an interview with Kurt and Kristen almost a month ago. I think we're going to rerun that for you on Friday. If you haven't seen it, we're going to rerun it and you'll be able to see it again. A lot of good information in there, not just on the pet food and the benefits to your pets, your dogs, cats, horses, goats, whatever. It's good for all the animals. But also they talked a lot about how to become a distributor, how to sell this product if that's what you want to do. And there's a handful of people that said they want to do it. They're pet lovers and they would love to spread the word about the food and the mushroom that's in this food that helps cure the pets of so many ailments that they have, because the food does not have, that we're finding in the store, doesn't have a lot of nutrition. Again, you walk in Costco and you see these giant bags of dog food and you go, wow, there's nothing in there that's going to be helpful for those animals. They're actually hurting them. They think they're doing the right thing. They think they're saving money, but truthfully, you save money there, and then you'll pay it in vet bills later on. Now, Thumper doesn't go to the vet. He doesn't need to. He's doing really well. So that's just something I wanted to share with you. ScrewBigGov.com/pets. ScrewBigGov.com/pets will get you there and get you all the information. All right. I'm going to wrap up for today, but I want to just thank all of you. I hear your comments. I thank you for alerting us to the ad issue on Rumble. We're going to work on that. That's my project. I'll be working on that to make sure that we have a solution for you and give you a choice to have a viewing experience without ads. And also, thank you for letting us know that you want to hear more about the elections, because for me, that's the only story. I know North Carolina is big. Believe me, it's not. I'm not dismissing it in any way. I know it's really important. It's probably the biggest natural or unnatural weather disaster in our nation's history. I get it. I really do. But I also know that the elections are on your mind, as they are on mine. I've not stopped looking at it, and I will continue to post what I find in Renegade Media on Telegram. So if you're not on Telegram, probably a good time to get on Telegram. It's one of the few places, Telegram, X, and Rumble. They're pretty the only places right now where you can speak as you wish and not get censored. So with that, I will say thank you for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. I think you guys really make it possible for us to do this show, and love spending the time with you. I feel blessed every day to do this, and we'll look forward to seeing you. I won't be here tomorrow, but we'll have a replay for you on Friday. And like I said, if anything pops, we're coming back live. So just keep an eye on our Telegram channels, and we'll post that information there. And make sure you're on our email list, because we will send out emails to let you know if there's something. If the comms go down, then